Hello, my name is Adeel. I have over 9 years of experience as a software engineer. I've worked with startups of all niches and sizes and helped them scale throughout my entire career. I've recently founded a company called Binary Code Barn, which does software as a services and works as a consultancy firm here in the heart of Germany in Berlin. And today I wanted to talk about a feature that is very close to my heart in TypeScript, which is around mastering immutable types with TypeScript as a const. As const is a very powerful feature for enhancing your immutability and type safety. And what's, in my opinion, the best way to talk about code is by talking about code. So here I have an example. I have a routes object, has three items: home, contact, and about. And then I have a method called goToRoute, which accepts an argument called route, which accepts three values, any of these three values. And then on line number 14, I am invoking goToRoute method with routes.about value passed to it as an argument. But this code has some issues, some potential issues. Any guesses? I'll maybe give 2 seconds of a dramatic pause before I go to the next slide. So this code has two issues. One is the type safety violation that you see on line number 14, and the other is the redundancy issue. We are repeating the values again for the goToRoute arguments, possible values. Let's talk about line number 14. Why is this happening? So the reason that is happening, if I were to go and hover over on top of my routes object, you would see I have three items, but they're all typecasted as string. And I think that would make sense if we had dynamic values. If it's a hard-coded object, TypeScript should be able to understand them as values and not as generic strings. But that is just how a TypeScript works. Now, one solution for this, I believe, is JavaScript's native method, which is called object.freeze. And what object.freeze does is it makes an object immutable. And when an object is frozen, you cannot add, delete, or modify that particular object. So here in this case, we have an object which has an item called name. It's called binary code barn. And when I try to change the value of that name, object.name is equal to new name, this will give me an error. My compiler won't allow me to do this. And if I were to take that same approach and use it in my code base, here I have my routes object and I wrap it in my object.freeze. And you see the error that I was getting on line number 14 has now been solved. That is because if now I hover over onto my routes object, it is a read-only object. And instead of home, contact, and about being mapped against strings, they're being mapped against by these hard values. And these values cannot be changed. So if I were to go in and say routes.about on line number 17 is equal to I was not supposed to be here, TypeScript will not allow me, and it will throw in an error message which says cannot assign to about because it is a read-only property. But with object.freeze, we have certain issues as well. And that is it works on the top level keywords. But if I have a nested object, so for example, if I have routes.studies.sas, which is now pointed at binarycodebarn.com/portfolio/sas, and if I try to override it, it will allow that. And one way to do that is if I can also wrap my studies object on line number 5 with object.freeze. But that's not a very intuitive developer experience. But so what's the solution here, right? The solution is asconst, which is a very powerful and a very small feature in TypeScript, which I think is not used as much as it should because enum takes a lot of priority. So the only thing that I've done is on line number 9, I've suffixed it with asconst, and that's it. And as soon as I do that, it converts my routes object into a read-only key value pair, where all the values are mapped according to are not mapped as string but as actual values, and and then I can do a lot of manipulations on them. And this can work on an nth level of nested object, can work on arrays as well. So if you have a typed array, you can also use as const on arrays as well. And automatically by putting as const, I get the read only object. And then on line number 18, my first type checking issue has been resolved. But regarding the second issue, which was the redundancy issue, which we see on go to route method, so go to route method, which is this one. All I do is I say type route is equal to key of type of routes. And now if I were to go on and hover on top of route, which is on line number 7, I would get all the keys that are associated with my routes object. So home, contact, and about. Now all I have to do is I just have to say type route value is equal to type of and then routes, and then I pass in all the possible keys for that particular object. And with that, I now have type safety for my function as well. And that's it. Now some of you might be wondering, well, why can't we use enums for that? I just think that with these 2 extra lines added, it just adds a nice level of developer experience. I do not personally want to import enums for a component or a function that I'm using throughout my application. I want as soon as I'm typing, I want IntelliSense to be added and give me autocomplete suggestions to what the possible values to that particular function or a component can be. And in this case, for this particular case, I think while you're designing a UI library or other things, as const works wonders, and I've started using it a lot more as compared to enums. Please do let me know what your thoughts are, and that's it. So now here, as you can see, I've just hovered over on top of routes value, and you see I've got all the possible route values, and that is pretty much it. Thank you very much. Please let me know in the comments what are your thoughts on as const feature in TypeScript. Bye.